Alright class, today I'll be teaching you the basics of the What the? Chihaya! Quit napping on the floor! Class has started!
I'm not taking a nap. I'm tanking the floor.
Oh. Carry on then. Up first, the Dragoon. Soaring through the sky, brandishing its deadly polearms, the Dragoon is truly a force to be reckoned with. Best suited for players who like a well-balanced job in terms of damage and support, the Dragoon brings with it several strengths and abilities that help it turn the tide of battle to its favor. One of the benefits the Dragoon brings is its arsenal of damage-enhancing effects. Heavy Thrust is an attack that increases the Dragoon's damage output by 10% for 30 seconds. Blood for Blood increases the Dragoon's damage output by 15% while also increasing the damage taken by the Dragoon by 10%. Life Surge is an ability that ensures the next weapon skill used will hit for critical damage while also healing the Dragoon proportionally to how much damage it dealt. Finally, Blood of the Dragon is one of the Dragoon's most important abilities, increasing the damage of both Jump and Spine Shatter Dive. It also gives the Dragoon access to the weapon skills Fang and Claw and Wheeling Thrust, as well as the attack ability Gear's Kogul. Similarly, Life of the Dragon acts like Blood of the Dragon, but additionally grants access to Nastron, which replaces Gear's Kogul while Life of the Dragon is active. For party enhancing abilities, the Dragoon has two useful group buffs. The first is Battle Litany, an ability that grants the Dragoon and all party members within range a buff that increases their critical hit chance by 15%. Second is Dragon Sight, an ability that grants the Dragoon a 10% increase in damage output while granting a targeted party member 5% increase as long as they remain tethered to the Dragoon. One other benefit of bringing a Dragoon is its Disembowel weapon skill, which applies a piercing resistance down effect on a target enemy. This debuff increases the damage dealt by attacks from not only Dragoons, but also Machinists and Bards. Red Mages also benefit from this, as Flesh and Contre 6 are both piercing damage attacks. One final benefit of playing as a Dragoon is its straightforward attack rotation. Although it has a 5-part weapon skill combo, relative to the other 3 melee jobs, the Dragoon's optimal rotation is, in my opinion, the easiest to manage. With 2 of its major attack boosting buffs built into its Heavy Thrust and Disembowel weapon skills, the Dragoon's basic rotation consists of using Heavy Thrust always before the Impulse Drive combo and alternating the Impulse Drive and True Thrust combos, weaving in cooldowns between weapon skills as they come up. The only thing to watch out for is the Blood of the Dragon timer, as that is one effect the Dragoon definitely does not want to drop. Despite these benefits, the Dragoon does have a couple of downsides to it. First, the abilities Jump, Spine Shatter Dive, Dragonfire Dive, and Elusive Jump all place the Dragoon into animation lock. This is not a big disadvantage though, as it only takes practice and familiarity with the Dragoon job, as well as some more careful consideration of fight mechanics to be able to pull off these daring jumps without fear of death. The second and bigger disadvantage of playing as a Dragoon is its overall damage output. Overall, the Dragoon's DPS is on the lower end, balancing out its amazing party damage enhancing abilities. Although still respectable, the DPS difference is quite noticeable between the Dragoon and the other harder hitting jobs. In summary, the Dragoon brings a lot of damage enhancing self buffs as well as party wide buffs. It is also the only job that can inflict a piercing vulnerability debuff to its enemies, making it work well with Bards, Machinists, and even Red Mages. Where it suffers is in the animation locks during its 4 jumping abilities, as well as its lower personal damage output. Overall, the Dragoon is a great job and is a welcome sight to see in practically any adventuring party. Okay, so first I go Jin, then I go Chi, then I go Jin. Oh crap, no! Ah, damn it! That's funny. From out of the shadows, here comes the ninja. Striking from the shadows, the ninja is Final Fantasy XIV's lethal assassin job. Armed with daggers and a handful of useful tricks, pun intended, the ninja job best suits those who like to support their allies while still attacking with swift combos and flashy ninjutsu and ninki arts. Let's go over the benefits of playing as a ninja. One of the benefits a ninja brings is enmity manipulating abilities. The first is Smoke Screen, which reduces a target party member's enmity generation for 20 seconds. The skill is particularly useful in helping healers keep their enmity in check during heavy group healing situations. The second is Shadewalker. When Shadewalker is used, 80% of any enmity generated by the ninja in a period of 15 seconds is transferred over to a target party member. Targeting the main tank with this ability grants them additional enmity, allowing them to continue focusing on dealing damage while also keeping the ninja's own enmity in check. The second and most important benefit a ninja brings is its damage support. The ninja is able to inflict two different types of vulnerability to its target enemy using two different attacks. The first is Shadow Fang, an attack which not only applies a damage over time effect to the target, but also inflicts a 10% slashing vulnerability debuff. This boosts the physical damage of the ninja, as well as other jobs that deal slashing damage. This particularly benefits paladins and dark knights, as they, unlike ninjas, warriors, and samurai, have no attacks of their own that inflict slashing vulnerability. The second and most important attack is Trick Attack. When attacking from the target's rear, Trick Attack deals extra damage while also inflicting a 10% vulnerability debuff for 10 seconds, increasing damage taken from all sources. When used in coordination with other party members' attacks and abilities, this can lead to heavy damage bursts. While it is a capable combatant, the ninja has a couple of disadvantages. The first issue, albeit somewhat minor, is that its ninjutsu mechanic is a bit clunky. Having to input anywhere from 2 to 4 commands just to use a ninjutsu ability can at times be a little bit tricky, particularly during really hectic situations. Add any type of lag or ping issues to the mix, and the ninja can easily end up botching its intended ninjutsu ability. Although it just takes practice to develop a good feel for when to use ninjutsu, nothing unfortunately can help the ninja out when lag and high ping issues arise. The second and more glaring issue is that the ninja's damage is still relatively quite low. As far as DPS goes, the ninja can often find itself at the bottom of the heap. Like the Dragoon, the ninja's own personal damage output is low to compensate for how much it can contribute to overall party or raid damage through its utility skills. In summary, the ninja brings a good amount of utility that enhances the overall damage of its party or raid. It does this indirectly through enmity manipulation skills, as well as directly mainly with Trick Attack. Its downsides are that it can be a bit clunky due to its ninjutsu mechanic, and its overall damage is relatively low. Despite this, the ninja is still a coveted job for any raiding party. This shadowy assassin's utility is just often too good to pass up on. Alright, narrator. I'll be training you in hand-to-hand combat today. Now, before we begin, mind showing me how you punch? Okay. But promise me you won't laugh. Okay, here goes. Punch! Punch! Well, that was something. Looks like we got a lot of work ahead of us. Homona, demonstrate how it's done, will you? Coming up, the Monk. A true master of martial arts, the Monk dishes out severe blunt force trauma to all its enemies with its furious punches and kicks. If you love fast-paced, action-packed gameplay, then the Monk just might be for you. Let's first go over the Monk's strengths. Arguably, the Monk's greatest strength is its high DPS output. A Monk can dish out high DPS thanks to two factors. The first is its array of weapon skills and abilities that enhance the Monk's already formidable damage. Let's go over the weapon skills first. Using Dragon Kick while in the Oppo form will lower the target enemy's blunt resistance by 10%, while using Twin Snakes enhances the Monk's damage by 10%. This debuff and buff are essentially always applied as they are built into the Monk's regular attack rotation. And now onto the abilities. Fists of Fire is a stance ability that boosts the Monk's damage by 5% so long as the Monk stays in this stance. Related to it is Riddle of Fire, which not only applies the Fist of Fire stance effect, but also temporarily enhances the monk's damage by 30% while at the same time lowering its attack rate by 15%. Internal Release grants a temporary effect that increases the monk's critical hit rate by 30%. Brotherhood grants the monk and fellow party members a 5% physical damage boost for 15 seconds. It also grants the monk a 30% chance to open up a chakra whenever fellow party members or the monk itself perform a weapon skill. Finally, Grease Lightning is a stacking effect that grants the monk a 10% boost to its damage, up to a maximum of 30% with 3 stacks. The monk gains a Grease Lightning stack whenever it lands a Coral Form weapon skill, as well as executing certain other abilities such as Riddle of Wind, which becomes available after executing Wind Tackle first. Riddle of Earth also generates a stack of Grease Lightning if the monk takes damage while still under Riddle of Earth's effect. Grease Lightning also grants another effect, which leads us to the second factor behind the monk's high DPS. Its fast attack rate. In addition to damage, every stack of Grease Lightning also increases the monk's attack rate by 5%, to a maximum of 15% at 3 stacks. Thanks to this, the monk, alongside the ninja, currently has the fastest attack rate in the game. One last benefit of being a monk is that it too has a couple of party utility abilities. As stated earlier, Brotherhood grants nearby party members a 5% physical damage boost. This is great for physical damage focused parties. The monk's other group utility is Mantra, which grants an effect that increases healing recovery via healing magic by 20% for the monk and any nearby party members. This is very useful for fights and raid boss phases where heavy healing is needed. The monk is not without its flaws, however, as it does have a couple of shortcomings. The monk's first weakness is that its weapon skills have so many positionals to worry about. Only 3 of the monk's 9 offensive weapon skills do not have any positional bonuses to worry about. This makes the monk have to focus not only on its rotation and fight mechanics, but also have to put quite a bit of focus on their positioning relative to their target in order to maximize its DPS. The second shortcoming of the monk is the duration of its Grease Lightning effect. At 16 seconds, the timing of Grease Lightning is actually pretty tight, particularly in fight encounters with phase transitions where no target is available for a few seconds. Dropping Grease Lightning at an inopportune moment means dropping both the 15% attack rate and 30% damage boost, which can potentially lead to noticeable DPS losses. In summary, the benefits of the monk are its high DPS output thanks to its self-enhancing damage and attack rate buffs, as well as its ability to still support a physical damage-oriented group, as well as to support healers during damage-intense situations. Its weaknesses are that it has too many positionals to worry about, and that Grease Lightning has a relatively short duration. Overall, the monk is in a good spot right now, capable of dishing out some of the highest DPS in the game while still providing a little bit of group support. Oh hey, Miss Assistant! You're training up a melee job too? Samurai, huh? Excellent choice. You know what? Let me teach you a thing or two about the way of the blade. What do you say? Last but not least, the samurai. With katana in hand, the stoic samurai devastates any who would dare oppose it. Best suited for those who prefer to deal as much personal damage as possible, the samurai excels in one thing and one thing alone: brutally cutting down any enemies who stand in its way with deadly force. Let's first go over the samurai's strengths. One of the samurai's strengths is its mobility. With access to a gap closer in Hisatsu Gyoten and a backstep in Hisatsu Yaten, and with both only having a 10-second cooldown and 10 Kenki gauge point cost, the samurai can be very mobile on the battlefield. They allow the samurai a great deal of DPS uptime, allowing it to disengage with a backstep at the last moment to avoid an attack and re-engage quickly after with a gap closer. This higher DPS time contributes to the samurai's second and most important advantage: its amazing damage output. Among the 4 melee DPS jobs, the Samurai outputs the highest raw DPS. It easily eclipses both the Ninja and the Dragoon while also having a comfortable advantage over the Monk in this aspect. 3 factors contribute to this, with DPS uptime through mobility being the first contributing factor as mentioned earlier. The second set of contributing factors are the effects coming from the 3 weapon skills, Jinpu, Shifu, and Yukikaze, providing a 10% damage boost, providing a 10% attack rate boost, and inflicting a 10% slashing vulnerability effect respectively. With these 3 effects built into the Samurai's weapon skill rotations, they provide a constant boost to the Samurai's already considerable damage output. The final contributors to the Samurai's incredible DPS are its high potency attacks. There are 4 attacks in particular that are worth highlighting. Hisatsu Shinten is a very potent attack ability. With its 300 potency, 1 second recast timer, and costing only 25 Kenki gauge points, Hisatsu Shinten is a relatively easily accessible attack that deals great damage. Hisatsu Guren is a line-shaped AoE attack ability that deals 800 potency to the first enemy it hits, then dealing 25% less damage to the second, and finally 50% to all remaining enemies it hits. Next is Higanbana, the form that the Iaijutsu weapon skill takes when only one of the Sen effects are active. Higanbana is a 60-second damage over time effect that deals 35 potencies worth of damage every 3 seconds. When under the effect of Hisatsu Kaiten, which increases the potency of the next weapon skill used by 50%, Higanbana can deal a total of 1050 potencies worth of damage throughout its 60-second duration. And last but certainly not least is Midari Setsugeka, the devastating weapon skill that Iaijutsu becomes when all 3 Sen effects are active. Under Hisatsu Kaiten's effect, Midari Setsugeka can deal a staggering 1080 potencies worth of damage, making it the hardest hitting weapon skill in the game. The Samurai may be powerful, but it has one noticeable disadvantage. The Samurai's main weakness is that it has no unique group utility skills or abilities. Outside of Yukikaze's slashing vulnerability debuff, which can in truth already be covered by jobs such as the warrior or the ninja, the Samurai has no support skills that benefit anybody else but itself. With no true party value outside of its own personal DPS contribution, the Samurai has to perform very well and maximize its DPS as much as possible in order to pull its weight in the group. In summary, a Samurai's main advantage comes from its unrivaled top-tier DPS output relative to the other melee DPS jobs. Through its mobility, its Sen effects buffs and debuff, and its high potency attacks, the Samurai can regularly dish out heavy damage to its enemies. Its main disadvantage is that when underperforming, it can easily become dead weight, as outside of personal DPS, it has nothing unique that it can provide to a party. Thankfully though, thanks to previous patches increasing the potencies of some of the Samurai's main attacks, the Samurai has seen a noticeable increase in their overall DPS output. As it stands, it is in my opinion that the Samurai is in the best spot it has ever been since it was first introduced in Stormblood. Now that I've gone over each of the individual jobs, I will now compare them with each other and assign them my own personal rankings, based on each job's overall potential raid DPS contribution as well as other factors such as job mechanics. For this comparison, I did a lot of number crunching to get a general idea of how much each of these jobs can contribute to raid DPS relative to each other, using data from FFLogs and XIVRDPS.com. If enough of you are interested, I can make a short video on what data I used, how I processed this data, and the logic behind the whole process. Alright, now on to my rankings. For 4th place, I choose the Monk. Sadly for me, the Monk ranks at the bottom of this list. It is a strong job, capable of dishing out a highly impressive amount of DPS, and it is very fun to play as, but its overall contribution to raid damage is not as high as the 3 other jobs' offerings. This is particularly true whenever a Monk finds itself as the only physical DPS job in a raid, as Brotherhood will only boost its own damage alongside the 2 tanks. Also, chasing positionals personally frustrates me in some fights. This job can use a bit more love with its overall raid DPS contribution, but I still enjoy playing it once in a while. In 3rd place, I choose the Dragoon. Although it actually is my current favorite of the 3 melee jobs to play as, it is hard to ignore the Dragoon's current shortcomings, particularly its low personal DPS output. As for raid DPS contribution, the the Dragoon does not contribute as much as I had initially thought. Dragon Sight contributes little overall, and Battle Litany contributes a fair amount but is still highly dependent on chance, especially since it only has an 11% uptime. Disembowel is great only if both a Bard and Machinist are present, and only decent at best if only one of them are present. All in all, it is still my current favorite job to play as, but just like the Monk, I think it can use a boost to catch up to the top 2 melee jobs. In second place, I choose the Ninja. The Ninja is highly sought after by raid groups for a reason. Although like the Dragoon, its personal DPS is quite low, its raid DPS contribution is noticeably higher. Trick Attack does wonders for boosting overall raid DPS, being one of the largest raid DPS boosters available to any job in the game. Shadow Fang, particularly when no warriors or samurai are in the raid, adds a significant amount to the ninja's overall raid DPS contribution, giving an essentially permanent 10% damage boost to any paladin and dark knight in the party against any single target. Personally, the ninja only occupies second place for 2 reasons. The first is that ninjutsu feels very clunky to me at times, especially when there's any amount of lag. The second reason is that a ninja's raid DPS depends more heavily on the performance of the other party members. Having a pre-made group or lucking out with a random group of high-performance players is one thing, but the average group, or worse, an underperforming group, can very negatively affect a ninja's overall contribution. In first place, I choose the Samurai. What can I say? The Samurai just hits so damn hard. It hands down has the highest personal DPS out of the 4, making the Dragoon and Ninja look somewhat insignificant while keeping ahead of the Monk at a comfortable distance. Also, like the Ninja, the Samurai has a 10% slashing vulnerability debuff up its sleeve as well, boosting its raid value in a group devoid of ninjas and warriors considerably. It's not just the numbers either. Samurai plays real well with really little to complain about. It's simple yet effective. In truth, I had a hard time picking between which of the two, the Samurai or the Ninja, would fill this top spot, but personally I currently prefer the Samurai. After receiving damage boosts from past patches, this job finally feels like it achieved what it was trying to be, a job that offers nothing really unique to a raid, but still contributes a lot with just its own personal damage. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please do let me know in the comments below about what your thoughts are on any of these 4 jobs. How do you personally rank them? I would love to hear your thoughts and insights. If you would like to see more content like this, please subscribe if you are not already subscribed to this channel. Your support would be very much appreciated. I strive to upload content like this on a regular basis, so please stay tuned. Thank you again for watching and please take care. See you next time.